All right, everyone. We have Tanya Miller on here, introduced to me from another fellow house hacker in the Cleveland area. She has done 3 house hacks, so I wanted to bring her on and talk about her situation. How you doing, Tanya?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for coming on. Tell my audience just a little bit about yourself, more of the background of you before we get into your house hacks.
My background is adopted from Kazakhstan when I was 2. My parents were actually landlords, but I wouldn't say I paid attention that much. I never really thought I'd be a landlord. But my background is interior design. They both passed when I was in college. Um, so my first house was an overnight decision, finding out the house was underwater. My dad owed on it and it was falling apart. It was a Lakewood duplex, so I decided literally in 24 hours if I was gonna flip it or not have the home. Um, Decided to take it on and doing the first floor within like 2 to 3 weeks, designing it, getting contractors. I realized this was my thing. So then a year later, flipped the bottom half and that went well. So that's how I started.
Okay, well, first off, sorry to hear about your parents. That's a different twist of how anybody's gotten into that I've talked to as far as house hacking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to grieve and flip a home, and I was in college still. I had 5 classes, so it was a lot, but I think I realized then if I could get through that and moving out of my family's house and getting my own place, if I could do all that, there's nothing, I don't know, really could intimidate me now.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a crazy start.
Life is easy
So
now. Yeah.
So let's dig into that. We're going to start right there. You take on a property that you're 40 grand underwater on, right? Right.
Yes.
Not your problem, but still 40 grand.
No. So like the fact that I owed a mortgage that was also refinanced 100 times, um, and the rent was $600 each, and nobody was in one of the units, so it was only 600. The mortgage was 1,200 in my dad's name. I started off paying that along with the flip and putting everything on credit cards, fully knowing that the flooring was going to be a credit line, Home Depot is going to have a credit card, all appliances. It was just I'm gonna just keep going into debt, knowing hopefully in a year or two, uh, things will work out. And it definitely took year 3 was when I finally started making profit because I also painted the entire exterior. So definitely year 3 was finally my turning point, and now I'm at year 7, so it's good.
Okay. So did you live in one of these units while you were
Nope.
rehabbing it? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. So this is now just a full rental duplex.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Now, that's a crazy start. You've been working your full-time job while doing this, right? And in college or
Yep. Full-time job, and I was in college, 5 classes, and I nannied a lot, babysat, nannied.
all right, so
Um,
this was your life.
Yeah. I mean, but I also looked at the space, and within a day of walking into the second floor was the first floor I did. I already knew mentally how I was going to design it and drew it up for the contractors. They were building it while I was in school. So having that background did help because it wasn't like I was starting and just like wondering what materials are best, what's going to be rental proof. And so I did have that background, and that I feel like it could have been a 6-month thing of me trying to research and figure it all out, but I didn't have to do that. I mean, I was already in school for it.
Okay. So you now own 3 rentals, am I right? Is that right?
Correct.
Now, the second one, was it a house hack, or is just the one you're living in now is where you're renting out room by room?
The second one, I would say it's a house hack because I knew when I bought in Old Brooklyn. Whenever I do like a house and analyze the situation, I think about what's going up, what hospitals are being built, what kind of tenants are going to move in, what's my rent going to be. So the area of Old Brooklyn that I'm in is really close to Metro. You can get 1,400 in rent doing that. It's a single family home. So I bought it for 100 grand, of course, 20% down, brings my mortgage to 600, and my tenant pays 14.
Okay.
So when I do a lease, a lot of times I'll say, okay, rent's 1450. I'll drop it to 1,400 if you want to cut the grass, do snow, salt removal. And they're like, yeah, that just saved me a $700 snow contract and going over in landscaping. So I'll do my leases like that just so that it's less responsibility on my end. And I'm still making $700 a month extra off that property.
Nice. Okay, so the house you're living in now, you are renting this out room by room, correct?
Yep, I have a third floor master suite that I'm in that I don't share a bathroom or anything with anyone. The second floor is a 900 bedroom, $850 bedroom, $750 bedroom, and then the basement's 900.
Okay.
So my primary home brings me in 3,500 a month. So that's 40 grand a year almost.
Yeah. Now, how
Just
did you go about acquiring this property with a traditional just owner-occupied mortgage? Or
It was a 30-year conventional loan. It it worked out because this house that I bought was above my budget. It was 190, and it worked out because you can have a creative mortgage where you can send in the lease of your home you're keeping, both leases, I guess. I had three leases, but all of those leases delete my debt. So it changes my ratio of buying.
gotcha.
So that's how I was literally moving out the day a tenant was moving in, and that's how this house worked out financially for me. And that was actually, I didn't have tenants in here. That had nothing to do. I decided I'm gonna rent room by room, maybe 6 months after I lived in my house.
Okay. So
So
moving into this house, you're moving into your primary you're in now. Did you just did you put 5% down, 10% down? Like where were you with the down payment?
20%. So
You
I
were with the
put
20.
down, I think 30 grand.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
And that got well, now that helps you a lot more because you have a lower mortgage, so you're cash flowing a lot better as well.
Yeah, so my mortgage here, well, so how I map it out actually, I always map out my houses
Okay.
by what bills each house pays. Um, so my duplex already pays my whole mortgage on that, and the bottom people are paying my Oak Park house.
Okay.
That whole Oak Park house is paying for my car, my cell phone, my dog, each house is paying all my bills. So by the time I get to my third house, I don't even have a mortgage. Everyone else is paying that. My third house is now paying 3,500 in other utilities, phone, all gas, like everything like that. So I map out each house as in what's being, I'm at the point now where I don't need a full-time job to cover my bills from having nine tenants.
Okay. Now, you still have a full-time job though, right?
Correct.
Which
I
is
would like
probably smart.
I would like to have at least one more. Either it's going to be a duplex or it'll be a quad. If I have a quad, I've already decided I will have a management company deal with it.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm at my nine tenants is a lot of tours, leases, cleaning, landscaping, houses. I'm at my, I'm not going to do it all alone anymore.
Yeah. So, real question, how now having these rooms that you're living in, or this house you're living in, rented out room by room, what are some of the major challenges that you may have not thought you would run into renting out, rooms at your house?
I'd have to say the biggest thing is I was in a long distance relationship in New York the most of the 6 months of this basically. So it was like I was a stranger walking in my house, home for a night, barely here because I would take care of the other houses. Um, I was just like barely here. Now I'm here full time the past month and a half, 2 months. And I think setting boundaries with tenants is important because you don't want to, I've already had one situation where it happened, but it's sometimes when a tenant thinks you guys are friends, rent's not paid on time, you become buddies, you start to have this is why I can't pay on time, this is what I'm struggling with. And when you're just a landlord, you are kind of separated from all the drama and you're just the landlord and you just pay them, you don't really talk to them. Um, right now I'm setting boundaries because I have a hot tub. So there's things where it's like when I have a tenant coming in, there's things in my lease that says these are your spaces, this is my space. You are not allowed to. It's like being very specific in a lease.
Hmm.
I also do 29-day leases to prevent squatters. I will not say, okay, you can move in. You've got 6 months to be here if that's what you want. I'm like, there's a testing period. This is my primary house. There's another female, there's another guy. Um, if you're not happy here, I'm never going to trap you in my home. It's just more so protects me as the landlord of this isn't right. I think you can tell within a week of the vibe of somebody. Is they're playing music? Are they leaving their food everywhere? Like the cleanliness. So yeah, I do a 29-day lease at first.
So what are some of the things you do to even vet the people before they move in? I mean, you already have that 29-day lease, but what's your vetting process to let somebody move into your house?
Um, I am on 3 websites, so Furnish Finders for nurses and all that. So that's pretty secure. I'm never really nervous about someone who works in the medical field. The amount of background checks they're already having to go through, I don't worry about it. A normal person, not in a field where they're probably being background checked, I ask for their ID. I'll do a background check. Um, and I do ask to see social media. I've learned that I don't know if this is discrimination or not, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's lifestyle. If I see the partying crazy lifestyle, I'm that's not welcome in my home because it's for professionals. Everyone here is quiet and clean and working full time, if not double jobs. I know I have sometimes 5 jobs. Depends on if I'm teaching, if I'm doing freelance. Like this is my home is for people who are working and studying. It's not there's no guest policy. It's a very and I make that all up front immediately because I'm not gonna vet them and text them and call and do a FaceTime without them being like fully aware my home is strict. It's just
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah, I think the no guest policy is a big one, whether it's house hacking or co-living, because you let one person slide on it, then somebody else thinks they can slide on it. And next thing you know, you're paying a bunch of utilities. You've got 10
Yep,
people that are constantly staying there. They're like, oh no, they're just my friend that's staying the night and they're here for the whole week.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So have you had to deal with any of those problems? Like setting those rules up front is great. Have you had people that really kind of push back on anything? Yeah.
The girl literally moved out today. I didn't have to do an eviction. It was, I would say, cordial. I don't even say cordial. It was rough.
Yeah.
I have a heart. I feel guilty having someone move out. But when you have a tenant that uses issues, which we all have issues, we all grieve, we all struggle with anxiety, depression, we all go through waves of whatever. That does not mean exes can come in the home, men can come in and out of the home in the middle of the night. When I have cameras outside and at my door, I have a high anxiety dog. I think this was all set. And when I have a tenant that is out partying all week long but doesn't pay rent on time, it's like those kinds of things. It becomes, you're not going to be a good fit for this home anymore. I'm sorry. Like, good luck to you.
Yeah.
But there has to be boundaries of, I did it for 2 months, of, okay, like get back on your feet or let's split rent into 2 payments. Then it becomes, okay, this is now completely taking advantage of me. And it's also affecting my tenants. You have to go. So I was lucky this time it was cordial, but it was one of those things where I let the ball drop of being nice and saying, okay, fine, he can sleep over. Okay, fine, you can. Then I'm a landlord checking my phone every 10 minutes answering it. Like that's it just starts to become like, nope, I'm 100% back to being strict. I just have to be.
Yeah. Because yeah, like we were just talking about, if you let it slide and then you don't want that to happen with your other tenants, or you're like, you
Yeah,
set the rules, why is somebody having a guest?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. And there's no, I didn't know because you have cameras up, you're living there. Like
yeah,
if you were in a true co-living where you're not living there, sometimes it could be a little bit harder to find out if somebody had a guest over, you know?
yeah.
Um,
And I
w-
also, for me, I feel liable for my tenants. I don't know who this girl's ex is
yeah,
and how dangerous the situation is. I don't want them even knowing my address. And I don't know if this guy or whatever guest is angry. What if he just lets my dog out to the middle of the road? Like there's these things where as a as it being my primary home and with me having a dog that I love, you think about my home's just open to whomever just wants to walk in. And you just have to be careful because at the end of the day, a squatter is a squatter. The moment you have someone living in your home, it could always be a 5 week process to evict them because they have all the rights to just sit in your house. Technically, this girl that moved out cordially, it could have been real bad. It could have been, I don't even need to pay you for the next 5 weeks of your eviction situation. That happens to a lot of people. And it didn't happen because I think I took it a very delicately. It could have been bad. I'm very thankful it was peaceful.
Was that the first problem that you had at the house?
Um, I would say yes. And I had a tour with this girl in November and I said no to her. I knew some of the situations and I knew it wasn't a good fit for my house and I met her in person, didn't get a good vibe. Everything was okay and then I let those rules slip of fine, boys can be here, like whatever. Stopped working, stopped going to school, and that took over her life. And I'm like, I wish I would have been stricter. At the same time, I can't be a babysitter and I can't keep someone's life on track.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a learning curve, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the cash flow and what you're making off of this strategy is absolutely amazing, but a lot of people don't realize
The
what it's
risk.
really gonna take. Yeah, and what
You,
you're putting at risk.
I mean, when you have a lease, you have a signed lease, you have an attorney that even is on my attorney's on my leases. At the end of the day, the moment they're in your home, the how hard it is to get them out timely. I mean, I have to say this even though I don't really want to because I don't want my tenants to see this. I have a no guest policy. At the end of the day, they could bring in a guest that's their home. Like
Yeah,
I have no say over that kind of thing. It's just hoping that I find a tenant that respects me and we're both on the same page. And I don't know, it's always a big risk.
yeah, yeah. A lot of the legalities and what you can and can't do. As far as like discrimination goes, though, it's a little bit easier to technically be able to discriminate when it's your personal residence rather than an actual rental property.
Correct.
Yeah, so you don't really have to worry about that as much, but still you want to, I mean, it sounds like you're doing the right thing with keeping like strict rules in place and you learn from experiences, but one person could really destroy a whole co-living household. So
It
that's what's
very,
scary.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna keep this house as a room by room rental when you get your next one?
Um, I think there's a part of me with a basement situation, 3 rooms full. I know the room I'm in right now, the master suite, that could rent out for 1,500. It's a private bedroom and private bath. If I did anything, I would say this house will always be in my pocket because it's near Ohio City, Gordon Square, It's like right and it's in Cadell neighborhood. So it's an up and coming area where my family's like, why would you ever buy there? My value's already gone up from 190 to about 210 is the appraisal right now value. That's only going to go up. So I am going to buy in another neighborhood, probably in Cadell again or Old Brooklyn, an up and coming area because I want in 5 years for there to be 60 grand in equity just sitting there because just the neighborhood went up.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to hang on to this for sure. I don't know if I would manage it with 3 people completely furnished or 4 people completely furnished, and technically 5 could be in this, a fifth one could be up here. It that can be very complicated. The personalities, they really have to work.
Hmm.
um the sleeping habits, the being quiet, the bathroom sharing. It's like when I'm talking to someone, it's like, okay, what is your morning like? Because I have one person is in the bathroom at 6 to 6:30 a.m. getting ready. I have a waitress. They're completely different up and down schedule. The other girl was 2 in the afternoon till 11 at night. So she's getting home and showering at midnight. Can my tenants hear that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot. If I'm going to manage 5 people, that might not be, that's not something I want to do. I don't even want to put my tenants through that kind of, that's a lot.
Yeah. So it's doesn't do the numbers still work as a long-term rental?
100%. So like the mortgage here is 1,500 and it's bringing me in 3,500 for the tenants to live here. It's totally, and that's three, one, two, three, that's 3 tenants. I could have a fourth if I wanted, but right now I'm at a good balance.
So if you moved out, everybody had to move out and you just rented it out, like I'm saying, like a long-term to a family, what do you think you can get out of it?
So I would say probably I'm in the Cadell area. I'm not in my Lakewood. My Lakewood's going to be 1,500.
Yeah.
Old Brooklyn's gonna be 1,500. This is probably, even though it's 4 bedrooms, um, I'd probably say unfurnished. It'd probably still only be 21, 22,
Yeah.
23 max. It's not like I'm by a great, I wouldn't say a great school system. It's not, I wouldn't even say super safe, walkable neighborhood.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with real estate. I've learned I'm an up and coming area. I'm a female. I've got females living here. I've had 10 traveling nurses. They all felt safe. They've all come back from, hey, I'm coming back from Chicago for a rotation. Can I come back for a few months?
Yeah.
There's been no issues, but um the to furnish a place, I had a traveling nurse ask to move back in and I'm like, I've got 3 rooms full. Let me see what I can do with my basement. And I bought a king bed, king mattress, pillows, um, paint, all of that. Within 9 hours, transformed it for $550 on Amazon.
Okay. Awesome.
So, like in a fully upholstered tufted bed. So I made the feel of the room $1,000 for 500, and now it's being rented out repeatedly. But
There you go.
a furnished place would be probably my next step. It'd be a duplex, one side completely furnished. I'd manage it as a short-term rental because it's so cheap to do. The top would be the full out mortgage. I don't have to worry about it. Someone's paying the whole bill, and my bottom's the cash flowing one that I have to actually handle as a landlord.
Yeah, more active income on the bottom and your
Yeah,
consistent income on the top. Yeah, that's smart.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we've talked for a little bit. You've got a crazy start, something I've never heard about how somebody getting started. And I mean, it sounds like you're crushing it. Anything that you want to leave my guests with that would be thinking about doing a room by room rental while living in it?
Um, I think the number one thing, and this is the only way I've gotten burned, even in my duplex, um, follow your gut. I had a gut feeling with one other issue. It was a teacher and a waitress during the whole COVID situation. And it was, I've bad credit. I don't make a lot of money because of my mom's death. And then it was vandalism, stealing, and all of that kind of thing. That was when I was 24. And it was hard to swallow that a teacher could just ruin someone else's home, take out even the copper out of my bathroom and sell it. Like,
Yeah,
so I knew at that moment, at that tour when I was 25, that this was going to be a sketchy situation. And I thought, I feel bad because his mom died. And the same thing, just what I just repeated with this tenant, when you look at something and you think with your heart that you care and you want to help them out, if you have that feeling like you're going to get burned, back away. Just say, this isn't going to work for me. Like, this is a business. I need to see your credit score, your proof of income. And there can't be that emotional, unless you want to risk it. But I know that I have gotten burned because I followed being nice and sweet and giving someone a second chance versus what happens if they don't pay for 3 months and I'm stuck.
yeah,
So I would say that's my biggest advice is if you have any gut feeling that this isn't right, this isn't lining up, this story, why your job is like this or what happened, it's usually right.
yeah, yeah. Anybody can come up with excuses, and yeah, like you said, your background check, your credit check, that's all going to tell a story.
Yes.
And that story, I mean, that's what you're vetting for. If you vet by the same criteria every single time, you're gonna have a lot less problems. It's when you start making exceptions. So
Yep,
yeah.
correct.
So Tanya, if any of my viewers wanted to reach out to you, any questions that they might have about your story or getting started, how would you want them to reach out?
My Instagram is probably the most that I go on for in terms, and I actually do post on my Instagram how I choose a buy and hold, and I guess what my method is for the BRRR method as well, I guess you could say, which would be my next step on buying a home. They could definitely just reach out on my Instagram, Tanya Miller 11.
Tanya Miller 11. Awesome. I'll put that in the description of this video.
Okay.
Um, Before I let you go, we're all learning, we're all looking to try to sharpen our skills. Is there a podcast or a YouTube channel that you really like to listen to or watch?
Bigger Pockets is definitely how I started at 25, and I don't remember the other one. Bearded Brandon. It's really hashtag BRRR, buy, refinance, rehab it, repeat it. Um, if you look up that, that's how I really learned how to buy something that's falling apart, refinance it, and have 300 grand cash that I can always pull out of. So I would say that that's how I follow it, but I also say I have just recently noticed these people that are in Hawaii, Chicago, New York, these huge investors are now posting about Cleveland because of climate change. They are posting where to buy cheap is Cleveland, where can you get the most cash flow? And so these investors that I've been following for 6 years are now spreading the secret on Cleveland's real estate with the lake views and the new builds and the how cheap it is still. That secret's coming out. So I will say I thought I'm going to slow down. I'm going to take another year to wait to buy a home. I don't think I'm going to wait another year. I think it's going to be relax for 6 months and then I need to get back on buying another property.
Yeah, it's really hard to stop when you know you can and you understand what's really going on in the market.
Yeah. And Cleveland is going to, it's already exploding, but every area, even Cadell, even these areas that 2 years ago you wouldn't, as a woman, I would never move into. Everyone's moving everywhere. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for coming on. I love to hear your story and we'll have to keep in touch.
sounds good. Thank you so much.